amazing panels. Okay, now we have to, give permission for that as well. So we'll move forward, and I'll take this time to now ask our two amazing speakers to introduce themselves, because I think they do better justice than I would to them. I've personally known both of them. I've held events with both of them before, so this is always interesting that once you get people in your network, you just have to get them to appear on places again and again, because I think both of your stories are just so inspiring. And, all of the people on the chat and on the webinar can really, you really get some pointers out of your journey. So how about we start with you, Riddhi? Give us a small introduction, tell us something you want people to know about you, and then we'll go on to Razan.
Perfect. Thanks, Ramneet. And I think you hit the nail right away. Networking, it is networking. That's how we all survive. So thank you for such a great opportunity. Hi, everyone. My name is Riddhi Modi. I moved to Canada about 6 years ago now as an international student. So hi to everyone who is an international student or planning to come here. Welcome. I came here to do my post-graduation at George Brown. I got my strategic marketing and international business management. And then I moved up in the industry, worked at the university, colleges in technology. And right now I'm at Microsoft Canada as the partner enablement lead. And I help our partners, Microsoft partners, with skilling and certification across all cloud areas. So again, welcome, Razan, all yours.
Thank you for passing the buck to me. So maybe to quickly introduce myself as well, maybe, yet again, as Amit said, been an international student, so been there, done that, faced the same things as you may have all maybe looking to face in the future, or maybe are currently facing as well. Maybe I'll begin with that. Hey, it's not a part of my introduction, but put it there is hope. Maybe if nothing else works out, at least look at us somewhere and get some inspiration, things will work out. And bring that smile back on and motivation back on. To introduce myself, maybe I have more than 12 plus years of experience within the banking domain. Came here as a student, did marketing management for financial services with George Brown, and then moved to financial services compliance administration with Seneca. So maybe had different opportunities, different spectrums of learnings as well. Moved into the banking space here as well, and currently now into management side of things with AML, which is anti-money laundering and terrorist financing, where I handle a team of investigators and senior investigators who basically work on different AML-related cases, be it of predicate offenses of drug trafficking or human trafficking or anything that you can think of. So that's the spectrum of my expertise and my small introduction, maybe. Just to top it off with everything, surely motivated to help you guys and everyone, and maybe as many as possible touch through this conversation today as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, both of you, for your introduction. I think this is one thing that really warms my heart, and I think that's a really great message to put across always is, as you said, Razan, is, it gets better, and it might not get better right away. It might take some time, as it has probably for all of us. We're probably just a few years ahead than you are, but you'll be at that point just in a few years, or in a few days, in a few weeks. You never know when the right opportunity knocks on your door, but all you can do is just be prepared for that. And conversations like these, I hope, just help you be all prepared when the right opportunity comes for you that you deserve. You can nail it right away, and you don't have to second guess yourself. So I guess we'll get into the actual conversation and start asking the question. Just to give everyone a little bit idea of the format, this is going to be a free-flowing conversation. I'm just going to ask them a few questions from my experience, and they're going to share their own stories. We'll have a Q&A at the end. We'll keep some dedicated 15 minutes for it. So if you do have any questions that weren't answered throughout this webinars, please keep them handy. You can type them in the chat, and we'll try to take all of them towards the end of it. And if I could ask everyone to put their speaker on mute, just so that we can give the speaker some uninterrupted time, but feel free to turn on your cameras. I think it's always nice to have that human touch, even though we are all so virtual. So yeah, just these are some housekeeping items, but we'll get right into it. So I think I'll start with you, Riddhi, and I think your journey as well is very interesting and personal to me, because it's I think a lot of people don't know, when Riddhi was in George Brown, I was there as well at the same time, even though we didn't never talk in George Brown, and we only got to know one another after that in actually another webinar where we were both on the panel. So it's very interesting, and I kick myself that I didn't talk to you. I saw Riddhi so many times on the campus, but we never spoke to one another. So Riddhi, I want to know from you, and you were a part of the student association at George Brown. You were representing, you were the director of PR there. And I think that is something that not a lot of students think about, when they're in college, to get into the association, to get into these leadership roles. So how, and you had experience from back home as well, like you worked around 2 years back home. So when you moved here with that experience, did that help you, while fulfilling your student association role, and why, in what other sense did that role help you to sort of prepare yourself for life after graduation?
That's a great question, and kind of going back a little in my memory lane with some crazy, amazing experiences at George Brown. So thank you for bringing that up. I think the first thing that I want to highlight here is that when students, international students, come to Canada, it's in itself a struggle. It's an amazing journey when you look at backwards after you've crossed it, but during the time it really feels overwhelming. And on the top of that, the expenses that you have as international students, housing, student school fees, etc., it becomes a little more overwhelming. So I think with that, and we are aware that students do work part-time to make sure they meet their ends. And this is something I really want to start off the conversation with today, is that don't be afraid to apply for roles within your college and university. Don't get me wrong, great opportunities outside as well, but as a student, you realize that you're involved in studies. There's 10 other things that you need to take care of. So from a job perspective, why not get use of the resources that are available at the college? And people don't know this. I've spoken myself to so many folks, and they come to me and like, are you sure there are jobs at the college that will pay you better than what you get outside, and it's a much less hassle? It's too good to be true. And I'm like, yes, it is. Why don't you figure it out? So I think director of PR or the president of student association was a key journey for me. So I started my career with the student association as into some journalism. I was covering some stories and advertisement for the association. And then I got this opportunity. I got to know about it, kind of fit into my experience from back in India, because I had done mass comm and journalism. And also worked with Capgemini into the analytics and marketing field. So it was kind of a perfect transition for me. Got the opportunity, took the courage. As an international student, you need that. It's a little dominating. So got the courage, applied for the role, got through, did the role for a good year and a half. And I think the most important thing that I learned throughout my course was influencing through leadership. I think that is something that I learned from that role that today I'm able to apply at such a complex organization like Microsoft. So I think all I want to say as international student to international student is that no opportunity is beyond you. Take that courage, talk to people, network, meet people outside of your group circle, and opportunities like this will come to you. Appreciate them, take that leap.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think you're saying it right. Even when I got to know about on-campus jobs, and I was like, this is too good to be true. Such flexible hours, you can go through with, and even my first job was on campus as well. So I was like, you can look within, but it does sound too good to be true. But that's amazing advice to give students to just ask for those opportunities and go for it anyways. I think moving to a new country just really sometimes shakes your identity and your confidence because you don't know who you are in this new country. You know who you were in back home. So it takes time to figure that out. But during that time, if you get that opportunity, have faith in yourself, and you'll be able to excel. And if not, you'll be able to find help, just like people like you who are here to help others. So that's amazing advice. So Druzan, I'll ask my next question to you. You moved here after much more, I think, significant experience. Like you were working for about 5+ years, right?
Yep.
Before you moved, and you were working in Scotland at the bank. So sort of like the prime industry and still sort of in the similar industry that you're now. We do see a lot of people who come with, who have had significant experience and now they want to move, but they're kind of scared of that, right? There's also, I think, a mindset shift that needs to happen for you to do that, because you're going to be leaving a full-fledged profession and going back as a student and then having to start again, maybe not from scratch, but somewhat from scratch. So, like, what kind of mindset would you suggest to people who have already had experience and wanting to go through the similar route as yours?
Yeah, maybe the mindset is simple. Look forward to learn. The reason why you would sign up in a course, like many of us sometimes sign up to courses or programs just for the sake of it. But hey, look at the end result. What are you going to get out of it? Is it worth enough? Does it add to your resume? Does it add to your experience? And that's the critical decision making that a person has to do. Maybe don't depend on any consultants or people like that. Just do your own research and maybe see how you can utilize that in your career. If you want to try something out, yeah, feel free to. I did that myself as well. Like, hey, I did marketing management for financial services. Do I use any of that marketing thing right now? Maybe in my job, maybe no. But for other projects that I work on outside of work, yeah, I use that a lot of that knowledge to do many things. So it is all relatable to me now. But just take the chance, even if you have experience or if you don't. Upskilling or learning new things will always be ongoing. Like if you've ever thought back home comparatively to Canada, and maybe I'll surely see Ramneet and Riddhi nodding on to this point when I make it, is at least in Canada, it's going to be a continuous learning journey. You'll have to do certifications, you'll have to have designations, you'll have to keep abreast with all the industry knowledge. So if you're someone in my similar space where it's you have experience, you're thinking maybe what should you be doing? Hey, evaluate it and get into it. It's no harm. At least you learn a lot of good things from it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's very true that you say. I think the learning never stops, and I think I've learned that here. I used to think, once you're done studying and you start working, it's done, but it clearly isn't. And there's always new certification, and I think being a lifelong learner sort of becomes that mindset, right? But I think if you could like maybe talk a little bit more, is that okay, I think I know how to explain, right? Like, when you are already working, and the next step for you is probably a promotion, right? Like when you stay within the same country, or a profession, right? So like progression is a promotion, and
Yeah.
and it sort of comes with a sort of lifestyle, and it also comes with responsibilities. Versus when you come here, you somehow have to give all that up, right? And when you have to start looking for the job again, like what would you say is happens then? Like because I see a lot of professionals who sort of either get disappointed, disheartened, or just give up and settle for whatever they get, because it might not align with what they were expecting, at least from a promotion or that next level in their life kind of view. So like when you were in that phase, what was your thinking? And now that someone is going through that similar phase, what would you tell them?
Okay, maybe I would say the first thing is if you're someone who's going to be easily be demotivated, then get any job that you find to stay motivated first, and then move up the ladder. But if you're someone who can strive, do a lot of networking, yes, for sure, networking. Maybe even this setting is a networking setting as well, and do the extra effort of maybe turning on your video, connecting with people after that, and talking to each other as well. It's maybe a little bit more that you're exploring yourself. You're seeing where the strengths are, where my weaknesses are, where the SWOT analysis, as it's been called. You're checking out what opportunities it's there, what threats that I have, and maybe learn from each other, which is like, hey, someone maybe cracked it. Like, hey, how did you crack it? What happened? What was the process like? Now, maybe if Riddhi and I were in the same boat and Riddhi got it in Microsoft, I'm like, hey, maybe I'm still looking out. Riddhi, how did you get it? What was the process looking like? And maybe her tips and tricks that maybe she used will be helpful for me. And maybe I might know the recruiting process at Microsoft and vice versa, right? So that's where maybe Riddhi can pick my brains. Hey, how did you get into the management side for Scotiabank, and how was the process and stuff like that. And it's a learning journey again, and it can stop. Just because you have great experiences back home, if you think that's going to make you employable right away, if you have maybe 5 years and 6 years or 10 years of experience back home, or wanted to easily get translated here, maybe I'm the bearer of the bad news. It doesn't. You will have to work to get it counted. Maybe it is through different mechanisms, certifications, or maybe even conveying, talking to a lot of people and getting it out there that, hey, this is something that I am worthy enough for the first one, at least to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And Ruzan, that's a great point. And to add to that, I think it's also about the mindset. You
Mhm.
need to be resilient. The idea, the process of leaving your own country and coming to a new one, it's a journey in itself.
A daunting
And
journey.
and it's going to have its up and down. So if you're not flexible with your mindset, your thought process, and you come to a new country with a very rigid thought process that, hey, this is what I had in a specific country, in a specific company, I want at least the same or more than that. That's a great thing to keep in mind to keep yourself motivated. But then make sure that you do the work to align with that mindset. To Razan's point, upskilling, I think it's the thing for the next 5 years or forever. But look into certification, look into shorter courses that will help you reach that level that you're aiming for. So I never say aim less, but make sure that you are doing the work to reach to that level. Opportunities just don't fall in your lap if you're doing nothing. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well, for anyone who's in that boat of years of experience and then moving to a new country for different reasons.
No, that's amazing, Razan and Riddhi. I think as you said, like upskilling is the thing for it, and this is something we also have a part of our course, which we sort of say is like a skill gap, right? And it not necessarily means you have less skills, but it's just the fact that this is your skill set, this is the skill set of the course you want to take. So how do you get that? And we have all these online courses now on demand. You don't have to commit to anything, but at the same time helps you get that, make your skill a transferable skill from back home to here, right? Because it's certified now, and they know that you know what you're talking about. So I think that's such an amazing advice to give to anyone who's sort of looking into maybe upskilling themselves or sort of finding their place in a new industry. So I think I'll just piggyback on that question for my next one for you, Riddhi. I think probably everyone on the call wants to know that, and I think now we have to get you to tell us the story about like how did you get your first role right after graduation? Because I know you got like a managerial role, but that was only for a short time until you finally got into Microsoft, and now seems to be the kind of place you want to be at, right? So how did you get in? What was your strategy? And if someone's looking to get into bigger firms like Microsoft, what would what's your tips to them when they are going through that recruitment process?
I love the word strategy. Thanks, Ramneet. I think that's what you need. And hey, if you're looking for a secret recipe here, I don't have one. It's an ongoing effort. You can talk to anybody, and if somebody has a secret recipe, I would love to know. I've been looking for one for my entire life. But to answer your question, I think. If I had to put top three things that helped me in this process, was first relationship building. I spent 2 years almost when I was studying, when I was on the president position for student association. I took that opportunity to network, build my relationships, build my connections. And pre-COVID era, when there was in-person events, I think there's not one event happening, that I might have not attended that would be relevant to my interest or something that I could, benefit from. So I think that's the first thing. I think relationship building and networking with your peers, with everybody, adds a great momentum to your journey. I think the second one is it's kind of related to networking, but put yourself out there. Um, for example, have a plan. Have a plan on one, where do you want to go? How are you going to achieve it? And what are the things that you need to fulfill that? And I'm a very organized person. If you haven't already got that, I'm all about the lists and Excel sheets and OneNote. So I like things to be visual before I do it. So I think it helps me. It works for some people, it doesn't. Sit, give some time on what your future looks like. Throwing in your job applications to random jobs is one method of getting a job, but having a targeted strategy to achieve your goal, it just helps you better, helps you target better jobs, and takes a little bit closer to your dream versus anything else. So I think that's another thing that I can think about. And I think the third one, which I really focus on, is people ask me, how did you get into the roles that you did without a Canadian experience? I think that statement is something I've heard all my life here in Canada. So you build your Canada experience. First, find out whatever experience you have in your country, are the skills transferable? Is the company global? Do little research on how you can pitch that experience, because let me tell you, and right now I'm hiring for a role that reports to me. I have so many candidates that who come to me with not a lot of Canadian experience, but I'm not rejecting them, because their experience back home is as relevant to me if they are transferable skills. So I think that's one thing that I would say. And I lost my train of thought. But I think other than that, to get Canadian experience, people say, it's hard, nobody's hiring because I don't have Canadian experience. Volunteer. I think if I had to ever tattoo something, I won't use that word, but that's what I did for the past 3 years when I was at school, is volunteer. Build your Canadian experience. You don't have to get paid for it. No one says that Canadian experience needs to be just paid, right? Volunteer at an organization, volunteer at some local shop, and that's how gather your Canadian experience, build it up in a form of package. You're worth it. So present yourself in the way that you want people to perceive, and that's how you get better and bigger job opportunities, or just any opportunities that are worth the things that you are able to bring on the table.
Yeah, that's amazing that you share. I think the resilience, but at the same time, the organization part, I totally get it. And I think that's what we always talk about, being targeted, right? Like being general versus being targeted has two different approaches to it. Whereas you said it's one way to just apply online and get the job, which is not wrong. And honestly, majority of the people do get jobs that way. But that's, I think, if you want to not waste time and actually just get where you want to, and if you already know that, then you have to be targeted and find that niche and sort of put all that energy in that one direction, right? Like as we say. But Riddhi, I would, if you could elaborate a little bit more for us on this, is that, during your interviews and now that you're saying, you are in the position that you're hiring people, right? So like when someone's coming to you, maybe they didn't have the time to build the Canadian experience through volunteering, right? Like someone's just came to the country and is looking for a job, but has all that relevant experience back home. How do you suggest them, like during interview process, like how exactly do they need to understand that, like how can they make, how should I say, like how can they actually translate that experience for you, right? Like what do you look for when you're looking for that translated experience, and not just in the interview, but also if you get that resume, right? Like what are a few things or that's on that resume for international experience that makes you like, oh, this sounds relevant enough for me? So if you could elaborate a little bit more on that, that'd be great.
Absolutely. That's a fair question and a very relevant one, Ramneet. So, I mean, and again, this is the very first time I'm doing it. So I've been through the couple rounds and I have experienced those experiences with folks. I think what I observed when I was interviewing the folks is that how confident are they with their international experience? What that means is I'm looking at the mindset. Are they afraid or hesitant of not having Canadian experience? Because it's a matter for me. And again, this is very subjective, so not written in stone. But every individual is different, and every role is different. There might be certain roles, I'm not denying, might need Canadian experience because of, I don't know, the rules and the laws and stuff like that. But the one that I was hiring, I think the one thing I looked at is that how confident are they with their international experience? The questions that I asked was mainly subjective and scenario based questions. So I was seeing how they were trying to relate my questions back to the experience that they had, and how was the story building for them to help me understand on why that they did in a different country on similar lines now resonates to something that they are looking for. So I think it's about story building. Storytellers, I love storytellers. They have a beautiful way of bringing things together and making sense out of it. So I think that's something that I look into them. And I think the most important thing that I've experienced is, do they have the growth mindset? Do they have the learning mindset? Hey, you can come up to me and be like, hey, I don't know this, but this is how I'm willing to do, and this is what I'm willing to do to achieve that. So that shows proactiveness, initiative, So I think, again, there's no secret sauce here, but I think these are the top 2-3 things that, hits differently for me. And for me, now it's no longer about Canadian experience. It's about, is that person a good cultural fit for Microsoft, and do they have the growth mindset and the learning mindset, and will they do well in such an complex and intense organization? So it's I feel, just to sum this up, it's a mindset shift. What am I looking for? And more the people who apply for these roles, get into that mindset of not thinking that, oh, I don't have Canadian experience, versus what can I bring on the table with the experience I have. I think they would make a better fit for any role, just not mine.
Yeah, maybe I'll add to that. Having done a lot of hiring, at least in my domain and stuff like that, for the financial intelligence unit, and then having done it so many times, I'll tell you two more things to add on to that would be, for sure. If you're someone coming down and don't have any experience or anything in that zone, as Ramneet described that candidate to be, sell me your passion for the industry. Your passion should be right out there, right from the first marketing material, and guess what? I'm calling it a marketing material, which is your resume. Right from there, right to your email, right to your conversation, right to your interview, and henceforth as well. Everything has to show up your passion, which will help you move ahead. And second would be, for sure, start talking my lingo. If you want to be in this, in any industry, maybe every industry, every department, every segment in the bank has their own lingo, and they talk in those terms. So maybe get to know some common terms and start using in day in day out. Maybe start using it on your resume, start using it in your interview. It makes it more relatable that, hey, this person isn't someone who just came there for the sake of it, but knew things. And maybe I have a funny story. Sometimes I joke about it while talking on this matter. Would be like, hey, yeah, I've had even hired someone who did miserable just because of sheer nervousness, did miserable in that interview. Like if there was any other setting, I wouldn't have hired him. But only one thing after he got pacified and he could sell me on the passion point was one changing item for me. Like, hey, no, I'll go through it, even if it's something that maybe some life experiences, or maybe we even as international students, maybe having, I call that time bomb effect, where we carry a time bomb. I need to get this much, a job in 3 months. I need to send this much money home. I need to do this. I need to go into a better house, whatever that time bomb is. That would lead to a nervousness. Maybe don't think of that. Think of the interview as a conversation, or in the resume as just, and marketing material that maybe I'm inviting someone to talk to me, to make them feel that I'm a good person to talk to. I don't bite.
Hmm.
That's it. So I'll maybe add that to what the good things that Riddhi said there.
No, I think these are all amazing advice. I think if I could like sum it up, I think for us, what we have seen with more students, and that's something we have experienced now that we have had students go through the boot camp and actually understand this mindset. I think, as Riddhi you were saying, and I piggyback on you on that, is building that bridge, right? Like, I think they have to be the one who need to tell the employers how exactly do they fit in versus asking the employers, how do I fit in, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's a very subtle difference in it, but there is a difference in it. So like, they, as you said, you need to find out if it's a global firm, if it's softwares, if you used a particular software back home, what is the Canadian equivalent of that? How easily would you be able to learn it versus how not, right? Like, deep dive into your industry and see exactly what you did back home, how does it translate here? Because a lot of times, as you said, every role is different, and in each country every role does different responsibilities. So you have to bridge that gap for this person to help them understand, because they don't know, they haven't been in that role, right? So you are the one who has to bridge it for them. But once you have that confidence, then it does translate. Like, I've personally said it in interviews when I'm like, I don't know this, but I know how to look it up and I know how to solve it. And that's what matters, right? At the end of the day, you need to know how to solve it and fix it versus you needing to know it on the top of your head, right? You need to be that problem solver kind of person. So I think these are just amazing advice that you gave, Riddhi, and thank you, Razan, for adding to that. So I think, Razan, I'll ask you the next question, because I think your journey is a little bit different in that sense from Riddhi's, because once you graduated, you went through, 2 contract positions before you actually landed your role at Scotiabank, and, went through and then sort of found your, found your ground in Scotiabank, but you did have to go through contract position. And I think these might not be very popular options, especially with international students, because we have to think about the PR and the immigration side of it and whatnot. So what made you go for contract positions, and did it actually help you land your full-time role and actually make that bridge? Like, was this your bridge? And if that is what it was, do you suggest other people to go through that route?
Sure, I'll maybe put in the contract plus the co-op situation as well. Maybe because international students will always see that as one opportunity to whether should I do it or not. But both, I needed something. I know I trusted my skills, my abilities. I've upskilled. I know I am hireable. I know all great things about me. I have a great work ethic. I am a great managing time and stuff like that. But the employer doesn't know about it, right? So maybe with those opportunities, co-op was to, hey, prove it to myself, and then even with contract was to prove it to myself as well that, hey, the situations have changed for life, but I'm still the same person and I can do that. And at the same time, to that employer as well, directly start with that kind of a mindset that, hey, I'm here to deliver, and maybe learn in how you do things, and use that. And then maybe it does help in the sense of someone is there, contractors, and they think of it as a risk, and they don't want to be people at times don't want to be going that route, thinking that, hey, maybe what about the job security? But you think about the future prospects that it may bring. What did I get? Maybe if I say that out loud, co-ops. I got co-ops with two big areas. One with Ministry of Education in Canada, in Ontario. So that's one big brand name to my resume. Other one was Tangerine Bank. Yes, it's a part of Scotiabank as well. So got a lot of impressed the hell out of them, both the areas, and they wanted to hire me. So which was again great. With contract, yeah, again, got BMO on my resume. So building it that way as well, like seeing the future of the future, was something which I was driven by, not the current, current smooth sail. Yes, it's a chirpy waters when you take risks sometimes, but it's going to pay off, and I'm seeing more in the future. Like how am I going to use that? And having now those all great brand names, it helps me as well to say, hey, this is where I did something like that, and this is what my stories become more exciting to add on to whenever in a situation of talking to people. So yeah, that's my take on the contract and co-op. And yeah, it does help you. Maybe if you didn't mention one area, the skill gap. And if someone is into that co-op or contract situation, it helps you fill that gap. So maybe the next employer that you're going at, you don't need to say, I don't know, maybe this area, maybe I don't know how to work on high risk clients, for example. Hey, you know what, I know about this, I've done that there. That's more hireable, more lucrative for a hiring person. Oh, he or she already knows things. Maybe if learning would not be that difficult, like our norms would not be that difficult to learn. Maybe the processes and the style and every the whole risk appetite, or maybe the decision making skills, everything would be a bit different. But hey, the ground level foundation is the same, and I already bring that. So you don't have to handhold me to teach me how to write A for apple or B for ball, as we did it maybe in kindergarten or something like that. It's already I'm at a school or a college level where I've already known all that basics, and then I know the grammar, and I'm here to construct the sentences in language. That's my analogy to it.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's amazing. No, go ahead, Riddhi.
No, I was just saying, I don't think a lot of folks know this, but I started at Microsoft on a contract level. That I think in itself, kind of answers your question, is that I know PR for a lot of international students is important, and having a contract, full-time roles do determine that. But folks, you have time, you have 3 years. There's no rush. I know everybody wants to go out there. In the first year, they want to finish their Canadian experience. That's where the struggle comes, because you are putting a lot of unnecessary, just pain on yourself, because you feel that there's a timeline that you need to meet. Hey, there's no rush. I took on the Microsoft position as a contractor, and I never thought in my dreams that it would become a managerial and a full-time position. So I think, it's about doing the deed. Take that step. Think long-term. I understand that the short-term or these roles would help you with PR. Very important. No one is denying that. But you have 3 years or 2 years, depending on how much your work permit is. Take that time. There's no real rush. Nothing changes. You can get your OHIP card, that is your health insurance, after 3 months or 6 months. So really, there is no rush into your PR. No one is running to you because now you have PR. But I think just, to end this is, I feel contract jobs are a great step into the door. For big organization or any organization per se, if you feel that that's what your passion is and that's what you want to move ahead with, take that contract position. Trust me, folks. I'm saying that from experience, and it works out all fine.
Yeah,
For
and it helps you
sure.
network, right, as well. Maybe
Yeah.
you get into the door, and then you start networking with. And this
Yeah.
is life example for myself as well. The first contract that I was talking about for BMO. Now I work with the manager on also a part of the other association, ACFCS, where I am a director for the Toronto chapter. I work with him, so it's like, hey, the life is like a circle, and you meet them again. And now we didn't have to think too much. We knew each other, and now maybe if I had to ever go back to him ever, he'll know for sure who I am. He always knows about it. But yeah, that's the connection. You build it, and one thing leads to the other in life.
Yeah. Good point.
That's and then I'll add to that as well. Even I started. Oh, I think I never even shared this in the beginning. I work with KPMG as a tax consultant. That's my full-time career, and I forgot to mention that in the spirits of Empower. But even that started as a co-op. I started as a co-op, got another co-op, and then networked my way into persuading them to give me a full-time job, right? So it also started as a contract, and literally I can't even count the number of people I know within my company who have started as contractors and went on to become full-time workers there. So yeah, I just wanted to, take away that stigma from contract positions or co-op positions. Is that sometimes we let them go because of the job security, as you said, and that timeline that we are on as immigrants or international students. But those could be the greatest foot in the door, easy to get, but good place for you to prove your skills. And also, if you don't like it, then you can just leave it without looking like someone who's hopping it, right? Like you're like, it was a contract, I finished it, I let it go, and you're not hopping from company to company anymore. So I think it's a great win-win for both the parties. But yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for sharing
No
your
problem.
experiences on this. So I think now that we are at the last 15 minutes crunch, I'm going to open this up for people to ask their questions and what exactly is on their mind. We already do have one question in the chat, and I know someone has their hand up as well. So we'll take up the first question from Danila. And she's asked that, do you think nowadays most big companies look at the mindset or passion of the candidate? Like, is that the, biggest factor, of course, apart from your basic qualifications? Like, what would you add on to that?
Maybe answering in one word would be yes. Yes, at the day end, it's a person who's hiring for the big company, and when that person looks at it, like if I am looking at someone in an application, for sure, passion is something which should be there. Like, hey, you want to get in. Like maybe I could summarize it by saying that, hey, maybe if you're getting into let's say a banking position, but you're applying with your passion with IT, and you have written all your languages and stuff like that, it does not resonate. That's not a teller's job, let's say, for example. So it's not going to resonate. The passion is not going to come up. Passion for sure. That's why I would say mindset, because yeah, I would want to know maybe what kind of are you a positive mindset type of person or not, for sure, because hey, I have to look at when I'm hiring, the decision is not just hiring one candidate. The decision is about the other 12 or 15 or whatever that team size is. What about them? Right? I have to balance their knowledge. I have to balance their expertise. I don't want to get someone who may just turn off the whole team as well, who's a total different person from a different planet. So yeah, that's where I would say it is important. It is surely going to be one of the top priorities for anyone to hire. And maybe my mindset wise, if someone is maybe somewhat short with knowledge, she didn't ask that, but I'm just going to throw that in. Mindset, passion, and knowledge. If someone is short with knowledge, maybe the other two, the passion and the mindset, compensate for it somewhere. Because I know maybe if you are that passionate or you have that right positive mindset, you'll find answers. Maybe if you're shown direction, you'll surely find the answers that you need to.
Right. I think to echo Razan, I think yes, it is an important aspect in hiring, but it's not the only one. So you just can't go into the interview with not having a lot of information about why you want that role, why do you want that company. It's a mix But nowadays, things like positivity, optimism, growth mindset, these are the things that companies, irrespective their size, really look for it. But you need to back it up with your skills, with your education, if that's the ask of the job. So it's kind of a mixed recipe for me, but an important one.
Amazing. Okay. So now we're going to get the next question. Rafiq, I know you have your hands up. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? Please feel free to do so.
Hello, everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great, thank you very much. Good morning here from Dubai. I'm now at Dubai United Emirates, United Arab Emirates, 4:25 in the morning time right now. I'm very happy to be with you. I'm really comfortable with this meeting. I feel proud about.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for letting me join this group and join this meeting. I just want to express that I learned too much from you. I don't like to talk too much, but what I want to say, really, I focus to immigrate to Canada. I'm Egyptian. But I had a meeting with one immigration agency in Canada before. I don't know if I can say its name or no, but it's okay.
No, probably not. I was like, I don't know if I want to infringe their privacy, so we'll just keep them anonymous, but please go ahead.
Okay. Just they said that you have one option. You have one option to find a Canadian wife. Yeah, then you can. I know this is different topic. You're talking about international experience. And I don't know if everybody here in Canada, all of you are in Canada.
I think the not majority are, but we have a few people there. But what I would just say is that we don't really discuss sorry, we don't really discuss immigration because we're not the experts at it. But all I can tell you is the man that's giving you advice is probably giving you wrong ones, because there's definitely more routes to come to Canada rather than just getting married. But what you can do is I can send you a link in the chat. We have a Slack group and we have an immigration channel on that as well, where we have some ethical immigrant consultants. So you can write in your question there, or maybe book them personally and see if you want to go through them. So I can pass along a few immigration consultants to you, and maybe they can help. And I see Pat already linked that in the chat box. So yeah, join that and maybe talk to them, and I'm sure they can give you many more options.
Thank you very much. I know that I'm different topic, but also I'm happy to share you my interest.
Sorry, it's just like I want to give other people the chance to ask the question as well. So this definitely seems like something we could have a longer conversation on. So please feel free to join the Slack. I'm on there as well, and Pat as well. And let's talk in person and we'll chat more in detail. What do you say?
Yeah, I hope so. Please.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. We have the next question from Peace, which she says is, did you face the problem of being rejected by employers because you did not have your PR? I personally didn't, but Riddhi, I would like to ask you this question, same as you to Ruzan.
I don't know if a lot of folks, can resonate. Rejections, yes. But because you don't have a PR, no, that's not how Canada rolls. The only thing that they need, again, I want to add something. There are certain roles with government that might need PR. So if you've applied to that and in there, one of the requirements is it says that must have is a Canadian citizenship or permanent residence, then yes, they have the option to reject you because you don't fit into the armed forces or whichever organization is hiring rules. But as per the other jobs, what everyone cares is that you have a valid work permit or a work visa that will allow you to work for their company without any issues. And I think if it's at least more than 1 year, again, I'm not a consultant, Ramneet, if you have precise stats on how long the work visa could be, I think that's enough. So if anybody's telling you that you've been rejected, that's unethical.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll just add to that is that you have to understand the immigration in Canada is different than US, because I know this is a big factor in US. But because in Canada, your immigration is open and it's not dependent on your employer, they technically can ask you about the status. All they need to know is that you're legal to work in Canada. That means you have your SIN card and your work permit. But other than that, they don't care. And they just need to make sure that the only thing is they'll check back on you if you have gotten your PR, because they need to make sure you're legal. But other than that, as Riddhi mentioned, if it's a specific government position, then maybe they can reject you on the basis, but maybe some smaller companies do practice that. But all in all, I can say is because the companies don't have to sponsor you, they really don't care because it's not on them. Your immigration is your own responsibility. But it's different in the US. So that's what I could say. And I think, Rosanna, this next question could be towards you because you have certification. I'm just like trying to get through all of them. Is like Dhara is asking, is certificates can be Canadian experience? Do you think the certifications pass as Canadian experience, or they're more like a bridge for Canadian experience?
It is, in a way, if you complement it, and use it as that. So if you have certifications, I would say, yeah, that's where you would want to sell yourself, that hey, you lived maybe whatever time that you lived in Canada, you spoke to a lot of people, you maybe did something with that certificate which involved a group project, let's say, for example, or even gave a test or something like that to get it quantified. You can surely use that. Maybe I put it as Canadian experience is equals to your skills, your abilities, your volunteering, your certifications, your education, and everything that you do basically here. Even if you're working at Tim Hortons, it's Canadian experience because and day in, day out, you're handling people, talking to people and handling their orders. So yeah, I could throw certifications in that mix as well, with the twist that, hey, you can prove it that, hey, you did it to upskill yourself to a Canadian standard, and that's where you got it. And maybe just piggybacking on the last conversation about being rejected for a PR, maybe I just have a little bit more insight on that, so I'll add it to you. Technically, in most of the senses, you would not be asked that question right off the back. That comes in the later stages of hiring, where you're already given some offer letters, and probably after that, it should ideally come there. But if someone is being asked that, and if that's the only thing that you've been rejected for, maybe it would be, and if you want to maybe still open the gates and channels to make it in, you can surely try to specify what status you are in. For sure, maybe like, hey, if you're in applied status, and if you have done 2 programs, let's say, for example, you have 3 years of experience, you are going to get three years of work permit for sure, or you anticipate getting a PR in the next year. Maybe open that dialogue. Yeah, I do not have it right now, but I guess it wasn't mentioned as a mandatory factor for this role. But yeah, just to let you know, I'm already eligible in the next 6 months. I shall be applying for it, or something like that, or maybe in the next year I'll be having my PR. And that's how you would try to answer that, and then still put your name in.
And Ramneet and team, I love the conversations about upskilling and skills gap, because being a skilling and certification lead for Microsoft, I love hearing them. And I think, Dhara, how we look at certifications is that it's a technical skill. To Razan's point, yes, it's one of the components of Canadian experience, but what I would love to see, or a lot of folks would love to see, is that how has that certification helped you either learning a tool, or helping someone with a project, or some kind of experience that kind of relates back to the certification. But for us, it's a technical skill that on LinkedIn, you can add your certifications into the the top thing that I think that says skills and certification. So that's how we look at it.
Yeah, no, amazing, perfect advice. I think, and at the end of the day, I think with certifications, degrees, everything, it's a medium to learn, but what you learn and what you apply is the bigger question. So as long as you can answer that, as you said, what exact skills, software, put your hand on that thing that you're learning and how will you apply that is the bigger question. By just having a certificate and not being able to speak about it and use it is not going to help either. So that's the bigger question you need to ask yourself and help your employers understand is how are you going to use that certificate. The how is much more important than what you did. And I think we're just going to take the last question because we're already 5 minutes over time, but maybe you can quickly answer it. And then we'll hopefully continue this conversation on our channels or on another webinar, but we'll take Manohar's question. Perrin, I'm sorry, I know you asked, but we'll continue this conversation later on with you. And since you're part of Empower already, like we'll have more conversations, you're fine. So we'll ask Manohar's question. He is asking how difficult is it switching industries with no experience? So like I'm assuming they're saying that no experience in the industry you're trying to switch to. Like if you had to again give one advice to someone who's trying to like switch an industry, what would that be?
Maybe how difficult it is. Maybe I'll just answer it with this. I've seen even people working with the nuclear sciences degree working in banking. Hell, I still don't understand what's the connection, but they are working, they're successful. So there is your answer. If you work right, work hard, and maybe prove that there could be some transferable and transitional skills, it may not be difficult.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. Go ahead, Riddhi.
I'm just saying, find that commonality. To Rizan's point, what can you get transferred from a specific industry to the other? Myself, I was with the learning. I had experience in technology. Then I shift from technology to the learning side, and from learning back to technology. What helped me do that transition is, even though they are different industries, what was that one common point that was transferable, something that I could bring from that industry and help the other industry grow, was something that helped me with no experience in the industry, but to still be able to be expert at that.
Yes, that's amazing. I think it kind of comes back to what we mentioned in the beginning, and I guess we'll sum it up in that is that you have to be the one answering that for the employer and understanding where do you fit in the new, what exactly can you provide, what do you need to learn, and if you do need to learn, how would you learn it? Is it an on-job learning? Is it certification learning? Do you need to go back to school for it? Like, answer these questions for yourself, and they can all happen through, as we say, networking. Just talk to people, ask them these questions. Even if you think it's a stupid question, ask it anyway. The worst they will be, they'll give you an answer, right? It'll help you in some way. So talk to people, even if you're transitioning new here or just want to know another person. Just start talking, putting yourself out there, and maybe that'll do the trick here, because it's who you are. As they say, your network is your net worth, and I think time and again it sort of have proved right for all of us here, at least. So that's all I would say. So I'll give the platform now back to you, Riddhi and Rizan. Like, any closing remark for students, whatever you want to share with them, please feel free to do that, and we'll close with that.
Sure, maybe ladies first. Riddhi, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You're taking the time to
Yep, that's my smart way to do it.
That's your strategy. I like that. I think these advices, again, they come from experiences. So first of all, I want to say a huge round of applause to everybody who showed up today, because it's as simple as that. You just need to show up, get people's experiences, understand how you could leverage them, use them for your benefit, and then make the right connections. When you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, I'll share like a very personal, I think in the past 2 days, there has been so many folks who have reached out to me over LinkedIn, but few of them have just said hi. I know that they refer or know somehow that they're part of the webinar, but just a hi. So I think as a closing advice, I say this to a lot of my mentees, is that give context. Give a little context, be like, hi Riddhi, I know that you are speaking on this webinar, or hey, it was great to hear your thoughts here. This is what resonated with me. I'm just wondering if we can pick, if I can pick your brains on this, or like have those kind of conversations versus just a hi, or hi, I'm looking for a job at Microsoft, can you refer me? I'm sorry, but I know we know where you're coming from, but from an advice perspective, build your relation, build your connection. Asking for something from someone you have no idea who they are, or who they are in general, it's not okay. Build that connection, and the help would come to you automatically. So invest, get to know the person that you're looking for some help from. That will take you way further, and will bring you a great Canadian experience that will automatically make everything worth it.
True. I know. Yeah, maybe don't, if you're someone who sent me a LinkedIn request blank, maybe I'm not that harsh. I would have intrigued you and asked you to something for sure, and messaged you back to send me that first message. So yeah, take that advice for sure. Closing notes, maybe I would say, be optimistic, be hopeful, things will work out. Invest in yourself. Yes, do indulge in things that bring you up. Learn from things like, hey, maybe sessions or things like that's available out there that will help you learn and grow. Do a lot of such sessions as well, and then the sheer number of people that learn from that and then eventually start building a network with, and maybe I've ended up referring them at different spaces, is tremendous as well, which opens a lot of doors. So hey, keep that option open and meet new people and network. That's where I'll leave it at. Sorry, on mute.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, both of you. I think all I can say to everyone on the call is that we're here for you, and we're here to help you. Us personally and us as Empower, it's the only reason we're here is to help students and newcomers to achieve whatever kind of help you need in Canada. So if you ever feel like you want to talk to someone, or you just want to hang around with people virtually who are within the same boat as you, I think it could give you a lot of support emotionally, and also give you that positivity and the mindset that we're talking about to move forward. So all the links are in the chat. I'll take 1 minute. So if someone needs to scroll through the chat, because I know people are dropping in their LinkedIn, all our links, everyone is on our website. The speakers are linked on our social media as well. So if you need to get through their personal profile, you can just visit us on Empower International Students on LinkedIn, and both of them are linked there, and feel free to reach out to them or to us. And we'd always love hearing back from you. So I think I'm going to close on that remark, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Riddhi and Razan, for taking out the time from your busy schedules and sharing such amazing advices to each and every one with us. And I am super pumped listening to this conversation, and it's always fun. And Riddhi and Razan, we need to meet in person as well. Given we're in Toronto and things are going back, I think I need to meet you in person. And Pat's going to join us in Toronto soon as well. So we'll take Empower to East Coast now from West Coast, and maybe in a few time. So thank you everyone again, and I wish you all a very good night and amazing weekend, and have fun.
God bless you.
Take care.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
God bless you all.